Once again, we are back. Hello, everyone. We're on another trip to Nintendoland.
Choo choo.
It's our 20th trip, Alex O'Neill, my partner, my partner Graham here. That's right. We need to look into it and see if we can start getting into some rewards program for all of our trips we've taken. You know what I mean? Like,
we gotta start cashing those platinum points.
We get some platinum points. So we gotta get something. We gotta get a free ride here or something. Hopefully,
we'll call up Doug.
That's right.
See what Dougie's got for us.
Yeah.
You know,
he's like, stop tweeting about big Lego Bowser and hook us up with some platinum points, Doug Bowser. Is what I want to say. Hello everyone. Thank you again for hanging out with us. This is our monthly Rational Passions podcast of about all things Nintendo news and video games. What we've been playing on Nintendo Switch. Games that are adjacent to Nintendo Switch that you can play, but maybe necessarily we're not always playing. But hey, we're if it's around the Nintendo spectrum, we'll talk about it here. July was once again an interesting month for Nintendo. I would say it's once again they kind of have been in this state of trickling out news rather than kind of having their big bombastic direct. Obviously June, they did not do their big summer direct. June, they followed that up with also still not doing any kind of bigger news direct, but they still dropped plenty of smaller news and announcements kind of via social media over the month. And there's some other stuff too that's pretty relevant, and I think some stuff worth talking about. So let's just get into the news. How about it? Let's just get right into it, I say.
Yeah, that's what we should do, is have like a days since last direct counter, like all the other angry nerds on the internet.
Yeah, it's been this long until I don't even
days
know.
Since Nintendo betrayed me
for not having my news, my concentrated news filtered to me. How dare you make me look at your Twitter account, Nintendo? For news, how dare you?
How dare you talk about Bayonetta in a tweet, you monsters?
That's right. Speaking of our wonderful witch, Umbral Witch, we got Bayonetta 3 dated, and it is this year. Everyone can breathe a sigh of relief. It was not delayed to next year, which I think some people were maybe fearing a little bit potentially, but no.
Sure. October
28th. Of this year, Bayonetta 3 is coming to Nintendo Switch, and that's pretty exciting, I think.
That's great. That's a great time for Bayonetta. I think Bayonetta 2, when that came out in February, which I guess is like the new hot window for single player video games nowadays. Right. But I'd been saying that this felt like it could totally be like December, early December, but I think this works even better for Bayonetta. So
yeah,
we're stoked.
I definitely agree with that. I think it's a good time slot for it because like Nintendo has like their I would say one big game being Pokemon Scarlet Violet in November, and I think people are still like not everyone's a big Pokemon fan, and not everyone's necessarily been feeling the more recent ones, but I would still consider that a game that is going to sell stupidly well, and they probably hedged a lot of their winter sales and things like that and business operations among that. But Bayonetta being right before that is really good, even though like there are a lot of non-Nintendo games coming out in October. I think that that's been filling up more and more to a lot of people's surprise that I've seen. But I still think it's a good window for that because the only other October game, I think, big Switch game is Mario plus Rabbids. And those are very two different games.
Yeah.
So I think they can kind of fill different audiences and different groups. But also for somebody like me, I'll probably get both of those because I'm pretty excited. I've not played any Bayonetta games that have been released on Switch yet, so it'll be cool to like just kind of jump back in and be like, I have no idea what's going on, but it's gonna be fun. That's kind of where I'm at for Bayonetta.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Bayonetta is like Nintendo does not have any other adult video games really at all.
Right.
So like they don't really have, it doesn't compete with any of their other franchises per se. It is kind of a league of its own. It's like the only This, outside of the odd Mad World type game that happens every now and again, it's like the only M-rated game that they've like consistently published that I can think of. I mean, people are stoked. They had that trailer went out, which is a very good trailer. Introduced some new characters. There's already very much implying that there's more than one Bayonetta in this game, which is like, you know what?
Yeah, F it.
Go for it.
Everyone loves having those multiverses nowadays. So,
multiverses, yeah,
that's right. Nowadays in their stuff. So why not? Why not throw in Bayonetta? Bayonetta's like already over the top and ridiculous already. So like that seems totally par for doing weird stuff like that. I'm in.
The first game already had like a plot line where Bayonetta as a child was taken into the future, and then you interact with her, and then she goes back to the past. So like they're already hard precedent for this kind of nonsense.
Completely bizarre, fighting gods and literal gods and like angels and demons and stuff. So yeah, it's nothing I don't think out of the realm of what Bayonetta's been already doing. But outside of Bayonetta, I know we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but now that we've had some like time to like gestate on it, is how are you feeling about like kind of the rest of the year for Nintendo in general right now, like in terms of like game? Are there any like maybe not some games you're looking for directly, or maybe are there as that's been filling in? Have you kind of been like, all right, maybe this Nintendo's gonna have a good fall, or maybe I will check this game out even though maybe I wasn't into it before? Is there anything kind of thing you're thinking about in that regard?
It's funny, like, we had that talk of like last episode, does Nintendo need to do a direct? Clearly they've made their decision on that matter. It feels like it, at least. We still have like this weird ethereal Metroid Prime remake, but that also could be a thing that's like being affected by COVID, and maybe that's the reason they haven't announced it, is like they need more time with it or something like that, versus what people who were insiders heard last, like maybe it was going well and then they hit a hiccup or something. And that could also be a December game. Because Nintendo does like to put out at least something in December. I mean, like ultimately their year is fine. It'll be fine. It is like one of those things where maybe they don't have a lot that speaks to me. Like I don't know how I feel about the new Rabbids game. I still have the old one and I haven't played it, right? I feel like I would want to play that first at the very least.
Sure.
And there is just like there's like a weirdness of the new Rabbids game of like, maybe it doesn't feel like a huge leap to me. It looks fun, but I feel like if you weren't into that first one, then, this one's not going to pull you in. Yeah. I am looking forward to Pokemon though, which is nice. I am excited about like, there's some rumors about some of the stuff mechanically that might be in that game that came out this week, but not even ignoring those, just like the idea of this new Pokemon has me excited enough.
Yeah.
But like Xenoblade's kind of like a miss on me, and I know you get that.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to play Bayonetta 3, but I am thinking about playing Bayonetta 1 and 2 in the hopes of potentially playing Bayonetta 3 in the future.
Nice.
And I'm trying to think. I guess what do they have coming out in September?
Splatoon 3. Yeah, that's September 9th, I believe.
Yeah, I'll play Splatoon, but that's probably about it for me outside of Pokemon. So, yeah, I don't know if that Metroid Prime comes in and kind of sweeps the leg at the end of the year, I'll be fine. But without that, I would just say there's not a lot for me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm kind of with you in that, like I'm excited for some things, but I don't expect to be like blown away. Like I'm gonna pick up Splatoon 3. I'm stoked for it, but I think it'll be a thing of like just how Splatoon 2 was kind of for me. Of I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with like the single player stuff, and I'll play a little bit of multiplayer, and hopefully the co-op stuff is a little bit better, because that might get me to stick around a little longer so we can all play together and stuff. But I see myself maybe not sticking with that super long like I did 2, because I played so much of 1 that it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's still fun, but it's still more of that. Rabbids 2 has that potential too. Like I was interested because they did, like, it definitely was. It seemed like there were a lot of things in that kind of gameplay reveal that were like, hey, this at least looks like they're putting in things like I wanted, like adding like more Mario characters into the combat stuff. like Mario enemies and stuff. Like that seems cool and how they're incorporating that stuff. And I want to see more of that. But yeah, there's definitely a potential of it being like, yeah, it's more of the same. It's good, but it's not like, the new upswell by any things. And but like pretty much all the games that are coming out are like kind of sequels, follow ups in that vein. So it'll be fun, but like nothing is there's not the one big thing, obviously, will be next year. Hopefully,
we're missing that Breath of the Wild feel, but I think like that game will probably be next year.
Yeah,
it's like we'll know probably before the end of the year if that game is going to actually end up coming out in the first half of next year. That's my hope, at least.
Yeah,
I feel that. I definitely get the feeling that like we have room for like a big September direct.
Yes.
Which reminds me of, I think it was like 2019 when like they announced like Luigi's Mansion and stuff in that one September direct, and the Zelda remake, the Link's Awakening remake, and all that was like crazy unexpected. I think we have room for something like that to happen, but maybe just about like Breath of the Wild blowout, and like we get a nice like 3-minute trailer of that really goes into how that's going to look if that ends up coming out next spring, which we'll see.
Yeah, we're still in waiting mode for sure. And yeah, and there's definitely I'm in the realm of like I would like that fall direct just for surprises and for like an idea of where they're going, because like we know kind of what this year looks like pretty much to pretty a strong degree. Like we don't really, there's smaller things here and there, but now obviously now where it's like, all right, well now we're going into next year. We know kind of one game and we don't know much else. That leaves a potential for some exciting announcements, for sure. There was another game reveal that happened via twitter.com/Nintendo, and that was Kirby's Dream Buffet. And this looked
I forgot about this completely.
Yeah, it happened. You want to know what's even crazier? Because when I was pulling the news for the episode earlier, and you can look on the YouTube videos, and it kind of blew my mind. The Bayonetta release date trailer has about like 450 something thousand views at this video. Guess how many the Kirby one has?
1.9 million. I know because I'm looking.
1.9 million. What? That blew my mind. I was just like, why did this like offshoot Kirby game get that many views? Like, God, don't get me wrong, like Kirby's a popular Nintendo franchise, but that blew me away. And I guess maybe some of that has to do with like I know Forgotten Land was pretty well received this year, and like it was a big game for them this year. And I think it's doing pretty well. So maybe it's just people are seeing Kirby again. They're like, oh, and that was kind of surprising just to see this game that looks kind of just like. There's been a million of these like tiny offshoot Kirby games that have just been eShop only games, and this is one of those where you're like you're like it's like a multiplayer, like you're like little Kirbys that are rolled up in balls, and you're racing around like cakes and pastry levels, and you're kind of like racing. It seems like somewhat sort of like a racing kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like Fall Guys kind of, you know?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that too, because it looks like you're kind of doing objectives while you're like racing through a course.
I'm gonna tell you why this blew up. If you pull up the video, I don't know if you can for the people watching at home, but if you go to the 17-second mark, the face that Kirby is making there is exactly why this blew up.
Okay,
in my opinion,
yeah,
it's got like that meme energy, you know, like of where people will just see a bit of it and like take it and roll with it. You know what I mean? That is what I think this game had and this trailer had.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Because I remember later Nintendo just tweeted this 17-second still image of Kirby just in cake looking stoked.
Yeah, just vibing the F out. That's probably a solid reason. Yeah, it got a lot of social media play.
I'm sitting here thinking, because while we were talking about it, just in the back of my head, I'm thinking of like, man, you know, how does it? Nintendo obviously has their ups and downs. They struggle with certain things. They struggle with like, I think, understanding exactly what people want from them also.
Yeah.
But like, it's got to be frustrating when you have a game like Fire Emblem Three Houses and then Animal Crossing, which are like these things that people are very loudly talking about together, you know, like these very internet-y kind of games. And Bayonetta kind of has like some of that energy too. There's definitely like when that trailer came out, a lot of people were talking about Bayonetta, and Breath of the Wild obviously has, it's like you can kind of do anything any different number of ways. So there's like this, oh, this is how I did this. This is how I found this.
Yeah.
There's like that share and response type deal, but like, you know, then you get to like one of their regular games, and it's like, you know, that it's clear that they want that kind of response. Like Fire Emblem Three Hopes, they want people to be, you know, tweeting about like all their romances again, but they like, there's just some part of it that maybe they just don't get. I see them trying really hard to like make these memorable games that people want to talk about and stuff, but yeah, it's just so hit or miss, you know.
They definitely, I think, they have a lot of
this Kirby trailer is a perfect example of that.
Of that. Yep.
It just blew up, and they're like, we don't know why.
Yeah, sure. Who knows? We don't know. I guess, more people like Kirby than we realize. We don't know. We don't know what we're doing.
He looks cute in the cake, you know. I don't know. I guess that makes the kids happy.
Yeah, that's all it takes. It's something happy, go lucky. Yeah, that's and at the end of the day, like that's gonna blow up. But I think like that game will just be, you know, it'll drop randomly on the eShop one day, and people will see it and be like, okay, and then forget about it and
play it once and then never touch it again. You know?
Yeah, a month later, oh yeah, that game came out. What happened?
It could be a good group stream game though. I'm looking at it like, hey, you know what?
It could be fun for.
We could crush 2 hours with this and then never touch it again.
Yeah, exactly. Some good fodder for sure. So that's kind of the games related announcements that we kind of got this year. This so far, like there's a lot of the other things were smaller things, which we can quickly watch. I'll do some quick shout outs here. Daisy and Shy Guy are the first post-launch characters added to Mario Strikers Battle League. So we got Daisy and Shy Guy, and a new it's like a new background stage.
Yeah, and armor. There's like armor that looks like some knight's armor type deal.
Some hot gear. Yeah, that got added to Mario Strikers. That's the first free update. That is out. By the time this episode will be out, that is in the game already. They've revealed that there will be 2 more updates for the game later this year. So I'm assuming it'll be more characters and some stages. So that's nice. I think I'm this game's not been out for that long, but I think again, like I talked about last episode, I'm not really being like, oh my god, I need to go jump back in right now.
Yeah, get that armor suit.
Yeah, get that knight armor.
That suit. Oh my god.
No, like I think I was actually installing some other games to play soon. Like I got today, we're recording this live alive came out, and I purchased it, but I have not started it yet. And I think that when I purchased that, I went and just deleted Mario Strikers for my Switch. That's where I'm at with that. But yeah, that's cool. It's at least they're free updates. Like it's.
Goodbye, sweet prince.
Yeah, there will be people. Yeah, Strikers fans, like at least you're getting something here, and they gave you a little roadmap. So that's nice. I'm sure there'll be people stoked about that. What else did they announced some Nintendo Switch Online games that are also out now. The Pokemon Puzzle League, I think, was the big one for the N64. So that is on there. That's a really good get, I think, personally, because that one's fun, like a puzzle game, but it also has just like a bunch of Pokemon anime stuff in the game that you can just go and like revisit that weird nostalgic era of like it has all of the weird original music that was like made for that anime, like the Team Rocket's Rocket Double Trouble, like that's just like in that game. And
Top 10 song, absolutely incredible.
Like that game is just filled. That game just has all that stuff in there. So I think it's very funny that game is just now on Nintendo Switch Online, like this. All the weird anime related Pokemon stuff that's not really like ever referenced in games is now on there.
Yeah, that's definitely like a deep cut too of like people really like that game. The people that know about that game will vehemently defend that game. I know because I never played it, but I know people like I think Brant Range is like one of those people that I know is like, oh I'll mess with some Pokemon Puzzle League.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's a fun one for sure. I that's like a cool pick.
Yeah, it was a good one for sure. I saw that, and then of course people were a little freaked out because if you remember they tweeted this out and they replied tweet saying more games are coming to Nintendo Switch, more Nintendo 64 games are coming to this Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. Stay tuned. Like I guess people took that as like, wait, you need to tell us that. Like you weren't just gonna do that by default. Like you think you were just gonna stop there. You thought that's what you thought, huh? Like I don't know. Like yeah,
they've got like three games left to be fair.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I don't, you know,
yeah. There's like that's kind of where I'm at too. Of like there's like a couple games they could probably get on N64, like and you know it'd be cool if they got the original Smash Brothers on there, and if they if they got one of the Mario parties on there. Like if they got those two on there.
Oh yeah,
that would probably be enough for me to like probably actually because I still haven't upgraded to that expansion pack version yet. If they put those on there, that would probably maybe be enough for me to push it over. Or like I don't know if Pokemon Stadium is on there or not. If Pokemon Stadium got on there, it is. I think is it? Yeah. That's cool. Those would be ones for sure. I would want to boot up and check out again. They just announced this the day before this. There were some SNES games and SNES games and NES games. Some more of those came on, and of course they older edition of like I don't even remember the names of these games because they were not really the ones people have been clamoring for like months for Nintendo to put on there, and you know they're held up for whatever reason. Who knows what's going on with that? But yeah, again, that sticks to that weird Nintendo Switch Online tradition of the hit they hit sometimes with some of these games, and most of the times they miss. With these online,
most of the time the hits come pretty early after the platform goes up. You know, like you're gonna get like Paper Mario and Majora's Mask and Pokemon Snap early on, and then afterwards you're gonna be getting like I was gonna make what's the one the little ninja looking kid. I was gonna make a joke about him being one of Goemon, but that would be pretty hype. Actually,
I was gonna say I'd actually be pretty hyped for Goemon.
Goemon would be
the one that would be like okay now they should have picked some other ones. First would be like Quest 64 or something like that. Like,
yes,
here's Quest 64.
Or like Castlevania 64. It's like
okay, sure.
What if they put Superman 64 on there just for the lulz? You know,
just like we know you hate this shit, but here it is.
Rings.
Yeah,
we've updated the draw distance by 1 meter.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be something. I think the last of the smaller Switch Twitter announcements they made, which was once again a dumb people riding the copium train or the hopium train, you could call it, of Switch Pro, is because they literally they put down they like privated some Switch like OLED and something trailers on their YouTube channel, and people went like, huh? Why did they do that for their consoles? They gotta be, that must mean they're putting something new up, right? It's gotta be in the Switch Pro, they're announcing it. Oh my god. And then we got a Splatoon 3 Switch OLED model coming out this fall.
Funky controllers. Look forward to it.
Yeah, and it's got some. I mean, I will say the Joy-Cons on that Switch Pro look cool because they're like a.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it's like a gradient, and they got the little Splatoon. Like that was the first one I was like, oh, those are cool Joy-Cons. If they sold those separately, I'd actually might buy those, but I don't know if I'd buy a whole Switch for it per se. But once again, yeah, people losing their, looking too deep into things to try and hope that a Switch Pro gets announced, and of course, it didn't get announced.
It's one of those things, man, with the Switch Pro. Like, clearly, I mean, it probably to some extent is still happening, or like whatever that piece of hardware is still, they're working on it, and the pandemic probably hit and like totally threw everything into the garbage can. Like, they probably had some kind of plan. There were so firm rumors, like they clearly had prototypes out there. But, something happened. And the tough thing is we're never going to know. We're never going to hear, like, the true story. They'll just, like, there will be, like, a Super Switch at some point, maybe next year or the year after, and then it'll be, like, it'll just be out, and we'll forget about all this. But, like, man, I would love to know what happened. What was the beat by beat? When did, like, Nintendo pull the plug, Like, when they were like, this isn't going to happen this year?
Like they shifted from doing a proper Pro model to whatever that OLED thing was, right? Like that's probably in some way, shape, or form was
was going to be a Switch Pro,
a Pro, but then they changed their minds, and maybe that thing still comes, or maybe they just wait it out and get a whole new Switch. Yeah, once again, who knows what they're doing? But it would be fascinating, to hear some more inside stories about that stuff. And Nintendo being Nintendo, will probably just never.
Yeah, we'll never. They'll just put it out and we'll all forget because things will look good again, and then in 3 years they won't. Yeah. It's just we live in this cycle now.
Yeah, for sure. But that's that. Yeah, again, those are kind of your game related news mainly. I think they're worth talking about, generally speaking, that they tweeted out from their official accounts instead of. I think these would be things that you would typically see in a direct, right? But now they're just kind of tweeting them out piecemeal, and it is what it is. I'm totally fine with this. The only thing that's making me slightly feral is, once again, we've gone a full month without any kind of indication about when the next set of Mario Kart DLC tracks are coming.
Yeah, now you're like sleuthing. You're looking for stuff.
Yes, yeah, I'm sleuthing. I try and stay out of there's a Discord I joined. I think it's just like a Mario Kart Discord and like you can go in there and just see some people just like it's the I'm blanking on the term for it, but you just the thing where like it's been so like it feels longer than the wait has, because everyone is looking for those moments and be like, oh, this happened, so this means, oh, there was an ad in Japan the in 7-Elevens that were showing the Mario Kart DLC in 7-Eleven ads like this they did for Smash Brothers DLC characters. That means it's got to happen right now. And that was like 3 weeks ago, when we haven't heard anything. Or like,
we're in full like Grinch Leak territory of like hysteria.
Yes, there are people that are just like, they're hungry. Like you can go, like it has become the Smash Brothers DLC moment of like you can go to those Nintendo of America announcements on their Twitter pages and just go into the replies and just see people being like making memes of like, here's Mario Kart DLC, and it's like it's like that meme of like the skeleton like way underwater when they're like holding and there's just like all kinds of memes like that, or just people just being super fucking a-holes about like, where's the DLC? You made me pay $25 for nothing, Nintendo. What the heck? Like, it's stupid crap like that. It's
unhinged people.
It's unhinged, and I'm just sitting here just being like, man, I want tracks. I'm excited for tracks. I'm living off of Mario Kart Tour like a sicko. Because that's all. That's my drip feed. But it's fine. Well, they'll be here soon enough. And I definitely want to still, I think we talked about when the DLC was first announced, do some kind of either predictions or maybe even like do like a Mario Kart 8 track ranking tier list or something as the tracks come out. We'll do that once that DLC is finally actually here. But that's kind of in the world of Nintendo we're at. There's two more things I want to chat about that aren't necessarily like, they're Nintendo related, but not with like any game announcements or anything like that, but I think they're still pretty cool. And this first one here, I pulled an article from Kotaku, and that is Nintendo of Japan says it recognizes same-sex marriages, even though Japan doesn't. So this is an article from Luke Plunkett over on Kotaku. I'm just going to read some of it here. Nintendo issued an update on the company's corporate social responsibility initiatives yesterday, and while this is normally a pretty stale kind of thing to read through as a fan, this particular publication had one thing that stood out. As spotted by Go Nintendo, in a section called Introduction of a Partnership System, Nintendo announced that as of March 2021, the company has had a policy whereby same-sex partners can enjoy the same benefits as employees in an opposite-sex marriage. That's a big deal. While there have been attempts at both a national and municipal level in recent years to change this, it was only a few weeks ago that Japan Corp upheld a national ban on same-sex marriages, ruling them unconstitutional. In a case held in Osaka and decided on June 20th, it was found that under the Constitution, the definition of marriage did not extend to partnerships between people of the same gender. Nintendo's partnership system does everything it can to work around this, though, as it states, and then it goes into the actual like code of conduct here. But it basically, it boils down to what we said before. Nintendo is being in terms of a Japanese company as being pretty extremely progressive in terms of actually, they're respecting these same-sex marriages, and if you're in a same-sex marriage and you work for Nintendo, you can still get all the benefits that you would if you were not, and that's awesome, I think.
Yeah, it's for sure, and probably a lot of culture shock for a lot of people less familiar with Japanese law and stuff. But yeah, there's
Japan.
It's real different over there.
Yeah, in that regards, absolutely. Yeah, it's a real different beast over there. That there, a lot of people don't really like it or agree with those kind of things, and it's a
much
bummer.
More conservative if you wanted to compare it to American culture, but
correct.
Slowly but surely, I think they're moving forward. It's just different place, different people.
Yeah, and Nintendo as a very big company in Japan nowadays because of the success of a Switch and the games and stuff. I think that's a pretty big deal. So I think that's a cool that they're kind of putting that way, and I think it also helps. Obviously, Nintendo is probably compared to some other Japanese companies is much more global because obviously they have a lot of stuff still out here in the U.S. and stuff in Europe. So they do stuff globally, maybe more than some others, but still, I think it's great that they're okay with all that stuff and still providing for their employees in that regard. It's cool.
Yeah, it's good news.
Yeah, absolutely. The next news tidbit I had, again, is not necessarily fully game related, but I think has a lot of cool potentials for the future of Nintendo, and that is they bought an animation studio. This is, once again, I grabbed this article from Kotaku. It's from John Walker. Dynamo Studios, that's probably what it is, has worked on Death Stranding, Persona 5, and Metroid Other M. Dynamo Studios was the studio that Nintendo has bought. They're based in Tokyo, and this has been around for 30 years, providing CG work and motion capture for games and anime. It recently worked on motion capture for Persona 5, Nier Replicant, and Death Stranding, while creating computer graphics for the likes of Ghost in the Shell, SAC Standalone Complex 2045, and Studio Ghibli's Earwig and the Witch. They also did years ago those Pinkman shorts that were made by Nintendo on 3DS. But this is pretty cool right now. They are being acquired by Nintendo fully, and once the acquisition goes through, they won't be Dynamo Studios, but they'll be called Nintendo Pictures. So what's kind of your thoughts hearing this, Alex?
It's really interesting because I wonder if this is more for animation or if it's more for motion capture. Right. And obviously the nice thing is that it can double as both. Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously this is probably a place that Kojima used when doing Death Stranding for mocap. I imagine a lot of the canned animations and stuff, they probably mocapped at this place. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be really interesting because obviously Nintendo is one of those places that have, as far as I know, never really done major motion capture for any of their games, right? Because they kind of go for this animation vibe with everything, from Breath of the Wild, which is more anime movie, Studio Ghibli style, to Mario, which is obviously very cartoony and cartoon animated style. I wonder if they would want to do oh yeah, for Xenoblade 4, we're gonna do realistic people animations and mocap, or for Breath of the Wild, not Breath of the Wild 2, that game's probably kind of set with what it is, but the next Zelda game maybe we'll want to do mocap. Or if this is more hey, yeah, we're gonna make a Mario show,
Sure.
And we want to have our own studio in house to do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting move that it could mean so many things, but I think if I were to make a guess, it feels like this is someone to help them make a show or an animated series. That's the vibe I get.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. It'll end up being a little bit of both, right? Because we know with the Mario movie, right? They partnered with Illumination, a big already production studio that's already has experience making big CG animated films and movies and stuff like that. Where this seems like Dynamo is not to say they don't do a lot of good stuff because like all the stuff here sounds great that they've done, like the CG work and animation and mocap work for a lot of these really big games and TV shows. Like that's still a lot of stuff. Like it does feel like it's maybe small scale. Like maybe they're looking more at like, yeah, maybe this show doesn't do all of the animation, but they can support it, right? Like they can be kind of, maybe they have this studio to kind of make a lot of base level stuff, and then they can also provide that to like other animation studios when they partner with like a Netflix or partner with some other place to like maybe potentially do like a small animated show or something like that, or just like even stuff that's like, here's, you know, they have, how expensive were those Smash Brothers CD trailers over the years to make, and like and like put them, have studios like basically, you know, contract these studios to whatever CG companies to make those, right? Like why not just now Nintendo can have all the control of the creation of those, and you know have their own internal thing to make these for future games, for marketing, and you know even in-game stuff, you know, potentially. So it seems just like a smart move by Nintendo to just be like, hey, we're gonna just have our own internal animation, CG, motion capture studio now stuff for going forward, because we can now be Nintendo and have control of all this stuff because that's what we like historically. So that's the vibe I'm getting, is like I don't think it's going to suddenly be like Nintendo Pictures is making a Zelda, you know, high budget film, and it might just be like, hey, these guys are helping make a smaller, helping support maybe making like a small TV show or some animated series that they're going to put on the internet somewhere, or just, you know, here's some help a studio to make like some cool trailers for our games and CG animation stuff for the games and stuff we do already.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the Smash trailers. I was looking at like who did them. I guess Digital Frontiers did the Smash trailers before, and like there's a director, which is a Japanese studio. There's a director there that worked with Sakurai, Yohei something specifically. But yeah, that is a good point. I wonder, like, there's a lot of potential with this. We haven't seen it. Nintendo, as you know, compared to every other big video game company right now, very rarely buys other studios in any capacity. You know, they bought the guys that made Luigi's Mansion like last year. They bought a hardware, like a building for hardware R&D earlier this year as well. Right. And then they've bought this studio, Dynamo Pictures. So I wonder, you know, I'm sure we'll know soon enough what the kind of dividends of this will be. But it'd be great if like at some point all of Nintendo's trailers got like way better or something like that.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, here's this great cool CG trailers all around. The one thing they should really do though is hashtag Save Dinosaur Office. Do you remember? It's good.
Of course I do. Of course.
Bring back Dinosaur Office.
No.
Make it a full-fledged. Go to Netflix. Be like, look at these two dinosaurs in this office.
Oh man, yes.
We're going. You need some help. You just lost like 1 million subscribers. Stranger Things ain't saving your ass.
Dinosaur offices.
Sign it.
Make a deal with Capcom. Tie it into their Dinosaur Rain game.
Get some Dinosaur Office skins in whatever the hell.
Dino Fury or whatever it's called. I forget.
Yeah, I forgot what that was called too. I don't even remember. It's not Dino Crisis, but
it's not Dino Crisis. Is
not
what
Dino
I
Crisis dinosaur game from Capcom. But yeah, that's all the news I got. There's
Exo Primal. Just
Exo Primal, right?
is spoken into the air.
Not much else in the news realm of Nintendo. There has been some leaking of some stuff going around. Like I think you talked about a little earlier of like the Pokemon leak season has begun in full effect, and we've this happens with every major new Pokemon release. Mainly when it's like a new generation, you have this flood of like people making fake leaks, and they're making like here's here's this blurred, Gaussian blurred image of like a little photo of the evolution of that bird. Whoa, is it real? I don't know. And 99% of the times it's not real. And that's kind of happening. Like there's been this big leaker that's been going around, and he's been posting like all kinds of stuff that's like a pretty extensive potential leak of like, he's talking about, here's pictures of gym leaders in game. Here's pictures of some Pokemon that are once again very blurry on a TV screen. He's like taking images off a TV screen, photos of like a TV and like blurring it. And it's like, who knows if this stuff is real? Here's a bunch of like information about like, there's Pokemon that are like, will have new forms, but they're like based on like, there's Pokemon from the past, forms of Pokemon what they would have been in the past. And there's Pokemon forms of what they would have been in the future. And those are how they kind of are differentiating the versions, which like you can kind of like see like that in the gym, not the gym leaders, but the professors they've already shown, where like the lady professor kind of has more like a caveman looking outfit or cave lady looking outfit on, and the other professor, the gentleman, has like this like kind of like future tech like suit.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of stuff going around like that, and like it's always one of those things where like it just you hit a point where you're near Pokemon release, and it's just this stuff is all over the place, and you never know if like, hey, something could be legit, something not. There's just so many of it. Who even knows at this point? So I like always just kind of turn my brain off at a lot of that stuff.
When do you think we're gonna get the blowout? When are we getting the full? Here's what this game's about.
Here's what this game is about. I think sometime in August or even maybe September, I think we will get another Pokemon Direct that'll have like another kind of big information dump of some stuff. I think there might be like another trailer before that where we maybe get like a couple more Pokemon revealed. But they usually leave a lot of stuff like right before it comes out. Like that's usually when usually like a week or two out before it drops, you'll get like you start seeing the evolutions of these starter Pokemon and seeing more like what some of the more later interesting environments, and there's definitely potential to see some more stuff. But I still think we might be it might be like more like August, September we see that, just because it's not out till November. So
yeah, I wonder. I know it's unheard of, but could this Pokemon game get delayed or something? Or are we in that unprecedented of a time?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. It's definitely never happened, just because I think the games are on like such a rigid schedule compared to a lot of others, because like Pokemon is just a giant
it's a
marketing
huge
brand machine of toys and cards and plushes and all kinds of other not even just necessarily directly related to the games, like all of that stuff comes with this release, so I think they are very big on that.
Pokemon Company don't play. I'm for sure like those corporate overlords are like, we got to make some money right now.
This game is coming out in November, and even if it's not finished, then just make some DLC or something, whatever. Like, I think there'll still be DLC regardless of the state that game is in. But I think it'll be November.
Yeah, it probably will be. I always worry of like, maybe they're just gonna put it out and fix it later type deal.
Yeah,
seems to be a somewhat common mentality for a lot of games that are going to be successful nowadays. But yeah, I worry, but ultimately it'll probably be fine. I mean, it's Pokemon. The machine never stops.
Yeah.
It's just great. This will be, the first year I can think of where Game Freak put out 2 separate games. Well, 3 technically.
Yeah, I know, right? It's
in
pretty,
a year.
It's pretty wild that we've gotten. We had Legends Arceus this year, and we're having this game this year. So I'm definitely very curious of that crossover, and then that's of course is going to start its own discourse of like, what are they going to carry everything over from Legends Arceus, or was these games maybe like developed in a way that maybe that's not as easily as it was? Who knows?
Is there going to be another Legends game? Is there going to be another Let's Go game? Like, are these just kind of like one-offs, and is that fine with people, or do they want more? People have been wanting like Let's Go Johto for a while, and I would play that game for sure. But I wonder if that's just a thing that they're going to end up doing, or if it's not.
Yeah, definitely curious. I feel like we might get another Legends style game, just because that did like I don't remember how well Let's Go sold. I think it did well generally, but I know Legends or this year like sold super well. And it's hard to figure out because it was like one of those things where I admittedly like once we got like I think like once a little bit of time got away, I kind of completely blanked on it. But now that I'm like sitting here more recently,
it was definitely in the top 10 NPDs for a while.
That's right. That game like. I want to say it's like over 14 million was like the last number I heard, and even that was like a little while ago. So like it's probably like well beyond that. So like I think we'll end up seeing another one of those for sure. Speaking of another leak that happened, Xenoblade 3 actually has leaked, and that is literally because people, I guess, some person took some stuff out of a store. Like actual copies of the game out of the store and sold them on eBay, and people have now like gotten their hands on that eBay sellers of, I think it was like a lot of like 20, 25, 30 copies of Xenoblade 3 were taken from like before they were put out on store shelves in the store, and then they were sold. And that's out there. I don't know if it's gone as far as like, sometimes when people buy those, they'll like just dump the game on the internet, and
I'm sure it probably has at this point.
It might have by now, but that happened, and I saw some people tweeting about that, being like, "Hey, this happened." If you're, you mentioned it earlier, we've mentioned it a few times in the podcast. We're not really the Xenoblade crowd, but hey,
if you're worried about spoilers, be careful.
Yeah, be careful of that because that
game's out in the wild. Man. I feel like that happens to Nintendo so much, like that happened to Smash Brothers.
Happened to Smash. It happened it's happened to some other things too, but for sure, that's definitely.
It is weird. Funny though, because we're talking about leaks. Like there's been this week in video games controversy. We've had to deal with all this like Last of Us Part 1 stuff going on,
for sure.
And that's obviously they're definitely. Something's going on with Naughty Dog when it comes to leaks. Like I think somebody's like pretty malicious about that stuff. Maybe somebody specific, maybe a group of people. I'm not sure, which is a big bummer. But like we've talked about it for the last couple episodes. There's this whole ass Fire Emblem game that is leaked, that exists.
Right? Yes, yeah.
And like it has, and we've talked about it, right? Some people know about it, but it doesn't like get that same attention that like. Even the Xenoblade thing, like I hadn't heard of until you brought it up here.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't get the same heat that like The Last of Us Part 1 gets. And I don't know. And that's definitely like perception and company and vibe and all that stuff are huge factors in that. But like, I don't know if like Nintendo wants that energy. I fear like that picking up on them, like somebody really going after Xenoblade and like putting stuff out in front of a lot of people. It's more niche, right? But yeah, it's a lot of leaks going on right now. People need to calm down.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of leaks happening, and like they always kind of happen here and there. It's always hit or miss for me when that stuff happens, and like it is a thing. You're right. Like for me, I kind of always glaze over that stuff to a certain extent. Because like, and granted, some of these are because like some of these games you mentioned, I'm not like the biggest fan of, or person who's gonna like be like playing a lot of those anyway, so that helps. But even like when it's like a game like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, like I like went and looked at some of that stuff, and it's like I don't know, man, like this people just like make stuff like this all the time, like you said, the Grinch leaks that happened years ago,
the Grinch leak,
like there were people who were so adamant that was legit, and
that's a story I want to hear, man. I want to meet the man that made that poster.
That poster, right? Yeah, it's crazy to think about that kind of stuff that like it legit happened, but it was all manufactured. And so it's always, that stuff is always like so weird, and I don't understand the idea of like being a person who like set all that stuff up to have like your like, and it feels like that at the end of the day it's just like a 15 minutes of fame kind of thing, right? Of you had that leak happen, and it was a big deal for like a month and a half, and then it's just all not real, and then you're just
it's wild.
It's weird stuff. But yeah, leaks aside, news aside, that's been the month of July for Nintendo, Nintendo news and all that stuff. But there has been some video games that have come out. And we've been playing some stuff. I know you have. I think you've been deep in the monster hunting realm. You talked about a little bit of the last episode, but now I think you played a whole heck of a lot of Monster Hunter. So tell me about it.
Yeah, I hadn't even really gotten to El Gato, which is the new location when we had played last or talked about it last episode. So I was definitely now 60 hours later into Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. It's oh, okay, yeah. So I've finished Sunbreak. I don't know. I've heard similar to base Monster Hunter Rise, and I assume other Monster Hunters. There, at some point you just every mission you do, your level goes up, and then at big thresholds, all right, once you hit master rank 50, you'll unlock a new monster to hunt, and then after that, once you hit master rank 100, you'll unlock the last monster to fight.
Right.
And it's funny, going through the master rank stuff, you also upgrade your hunter rank, which is the base game leveling system. And so I was able to finally go and see some the very, very end game last monsters that you would ever see in Rise, the base game. There's some cool stuff in there that I had not seen. There's a fire dragon that was that literally does the Radon move from Elden Ring. It goes up in the air and then turns into a meteor.
Is it Teostra? Teostra, is that the guy?
Teostra is one of them.
It's a different one.
But that's a lion. Yeah, Teostra is a lion dragon guy. But there's another one. It has a very weird name that I'll never be able to remember. But yeah, it's very dragon. It looks like a very traditional fire dragon.
Cool.
Nice. And it's very cool. But yeah, as far as Sunbreak is concerned, I've finished it. I've gone through all the kind of story to it. It's funny, there's kind of three pillars of Sunbreak, right? You've got these new, the single player quests are these companion quests, right, where you can actually bring NPCs with you. And we did a viewpoints of it so people can kind of get an idea of some of this stuff. Those are generally single player, but there will definitely be regular hub quests that somebody will tag along with, and you can still have 4 people plus the NPC. So it is it's just a whole extra person in there, which is really nice. And when they faint, it doesn't count towards your total faints and stuff like that. That stuff is really cool, and there's a lot of them, a lot more than I thought there would be, and nice. Pretty much every Joe Schmo walking around the Monster Hunter town you can just take with you on a hunt. And what's cool is they each have different weapons, so if you're looking for something that's a little bit more complementary to what you do, you can kind of focus in on that. And then there are the general buddy quests where you can just pick any of the people that you've done buddy quests with and take a full party of NPCs with you, which is fun. I think that's a really cool idea. Then there's the main hub quests, which are just the hub quests from any Monster Hunter, where you can have a lobby and bring in some people, you can just randomly join other people, so on and so forth. Just go through the story. Eventually new monsters will show up and there'll be a problem.
Right.
I talked about it last time. The story is oh, you guys have been having this rampage every 50 years. We've been having craters show up every 50 years.
Crazy.
Wild. At the same time. And obviously the stories end up tying together a little bit, as you would think from an expansion. And yeah, there's definitely it's definitely backloaded with new monsters. I was talking about beforehand how you kind of just fighting some of the same old monsters at the beginning, and that is definitely true. But they throw some wild cards at you. There's a lot of variants that are a palette swap-esque monster, but it's a lot more than just a palette swap, which I appreciate. There's this arachnid monster that's just this kind of rocky spider. And then there's a fire version of it that they introduce in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And it has these other little fire spiders that it'll shoot it out. It has this big fire weave that it'll make of webs and stuff. It has many different attacks, and it has a lot of different even physical characteristics. It looks pretty different. And most of the variants in Sunbreak have that same kind of like, oh, like this is like it uses a different element, it looks different, it behaves pretty differently. So they definitely go hard in on that stuff, which I appreciated. And then there's just the new monsters. I will say, Monster Hunter fighting monsters is sometimes it's pretty like kind of turn your brain off, like look for a thing, dodge, attack. But the Malzeno, which is like the monster from Sunbreak, kind of like if you had played Rise, it's like Magna Mallow, which is like it's the one on the box, it's the one they sold the amiibo of,
Right.
Malzeno is that for Sunbreak, and that fight, when you finally get to like that specific fight, it is like one of the craziest, most intense Monster Hunter fights I have ever done. It's very memorable. Like, I was really surprised. If we were to rank best bosses, for example, in a Game of the Year type situation, I would go to bat for Malzeno. It's definitely like, it feels like a unique fight with different types of things that you have to think about. Like, it like full on anime teleports, like it like closes its wings, twirls, and then disappears. And will like pop out of its teleport at you very aggressively, and it will like very purposefully go for whoever has the lowest health. And it makes it a high stress situation. Right. If like heal. I've had people like running full sprint like down an alley while it's chasing them. We're all chasing the monster to try and like get that person enough time to heal. And stuff like dynamic stuff like that doesn't always happen, and you can get stuff like that in Monster Hunter for sure, but it was the most that I had seen, and like every time, like I had to try it like 5 or 6 times because we were just fainting too much, and every time it felt like a little bit different or a little bit more intense in one way or another. So there's definitely payoff for some of those fights, and there are some things after it that are pretty good, like the big kind of final monster type deal is, it's fine. It's not the one that you're coming to the game for. But yeah, Malzeno lived up to the hype, which I was very pleasantly surprised by. Cool. There's a lot of new status effects and stuff that are introduced with the monsters too. Like this like Bloodborne mechanic gets introduced, where if you're like infected by Malzeno, you can only recover 8 health if you attack the monster. So you're like regenerating health by attacking the monster, which is very Bloodborne. It is a very cool way to kind of keep you aggressive in a fight that is already very intense and aggressive. So there's a lot of good stuff that they added. I think it's definitely pretty grindy. I didn't play Iceborne, I think was the world expansion. So it's hard to have like a point of reference for what a Monster Hunter expansion, like I don't know what Try was to Try Ultimate, right? Like I don't necessarily have a good frame of reference for what like is a substantial amount to be added, but I definitely like had a great time going through. There's like 2 new areas, and they have a ton of like little secrets in them. There's a ton of new materials. There's new ways to interact with all of the old systems, like the Argosy and the cat, the Meowcenaries, your cats that you could send to collect items for you and stuff. And it was nice to kind of get back into Rise again. I don't know, I want to kind of like hit that master rank 100, but I'm like 36 right now, and that just seems like a lot of hunts between now and then.
A lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I've gotten like my leveled up like Malzeno armor set that I'm pretty happy with. I don't necessarily think I need another one. I'm sure, as things get harder, I might want one for better resistances and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really pleasantly surprised. It's my first rodeo with Monster Hunter expansion, and I had a great time with it. It definitely, there's a lot of bang for your buck in there. So if you're willing to fight some of the old monsters again, you'll get to some really great new fights. And I'm curious, like a lot of people complain about the updates that they put out for Rise as a base game. They have like a pretty good schedule laid out for Sunbreak specifically. So I definitely think I will show up to fight like the new monsters as they show up, which is exciting. But now that I've played just so much of it, it's like, all right, I'm going to take a break and and we'll see. Maybe I'll come back to hit at least Master Rank 50 or something. Maybe not, but it's good. It is a great expansion. I do kind of wish that maybe they added like a new weapon or more like the big mechanical thing is just like these new switch skills and swapping them out and stuff, which can be good, but like I found like my set of switch skills that I really like, and then have just slight variations that I swap to. So it doesn't benefit me on like the charge blade as much as I would want, but yeah, maybe it is more substantial for other weapons and whatnot. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but it's been fun. We've been streaming it. We streamed it the last couple of weeks. We might do one more because I think Jarrett is close to like some of the end game stuff, so that'd be fun for to do some of those together. But yeah, it's great. Shout out to Sunbreak. It's definitely like Rise ended up being a sleeper hit for me last year. Of like, I played a lot when it came out, but then I played a lot more like 4 months later when nothing was coming out, and I was like, oh yeah, this is really 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 good.
Yeah.
And this kind of refreshed me on that in a great way. It's a great game.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just curious. You know, like you said, there's more Sunbreak updates through the rest of this year. I even think they said maybe some next year too. But I'm just curious, like, where's Monster Hunter going from here? I'm like, who knows if we'll see a World 2, or maybe Sunbreak and Rise were popping up, and maybe they'll just keep making Switch Monster Hunters. Or I'm curious what they're going to do next with that series. Because obviously,
I feel like
they're going to make another one, like Monster.
Yeah, World 2 just seems like a no-brainer because like World was, I don't know if it still is, but it was like the best-selling Capcom game ever. You know, like it did so
very true,
absurdly well that like I can't see them not going back to that brand. But personally, having played Rise, there was a lot of stuff that I would want to shift over to World, specifically like the Palamutes, but I think those are definitely going to be in Monster Hunter from here on out for sure.
Yeah.
I like the bugs and the wire bugs and doing the skills with them and all that. I would want that to carry over too, but that seems of the things in Rise, it seems the thing that's kind of like the hook of Rise specifically. So I would say they'll probably do a World 2 for next gen for Xbox Series and for PS5, and that'll add Palamutes and kind of get some of those things that are really, really great in Rise out to everyone else. And then they'll probably just make a standalone Switch PC game as well. And hopefully that one will have cross plays and cross progression or something, because I looked at 35 minutes of Monster Hunter Rise gameplay at 60 FPS, and I had to turn it off because I was upset. I was too personally offended. But boy, does that game. And I went and played like a little bit of World because I didn't play Charge Blade then. I booted up, played 30-minute one hunt of Monster Hunter World with the Charge Blade, and I immediately deleted off my hard drive because I couldn't think about a game running that well ever again.
Just like how dare.
And again, Rise looks great on Switch. It's just like once you know what that 60 FPS looks like, you just always want it. You know,
you can't go back. Makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that sounds cool as always. One day I'll give Monster Hunter. I'll get back into it one day. But I've been playing some stuff. Admittedly, not too much, just because it's been a thing where this is somewhat of a tangent, not Nintendo tangent before I get into my games. But I've been having this thing where one, obviously we play a lot of Destiny 2. I've been kind of breaking from that, even though I've been playing a lot during Solstice. I'm playing a little bit of other just random stuff because and I'm having that weird dilemma that I'm sure like you probably maybe you've experienced, maybe some other people experienced. So it's just video game agnostic, I guess you could say, or whatever. But I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And now,
oh boy!
And now I will say I'm having an okay time with it. It's not bad by any means, but it is what it is. You know, it's a map video game. I'm just it's literally just I put podcasts or some videos on YouTube on, and I'm just like putting a marker on a marker on a map and walking over to a thing and be like, oh, okay, I got a collectible, whatever. And like it's nothing, it's nothing crazy. But now I am like 40 to 50 hours into the game. Still probably a lot to go.
Yep.
It's one of those things where like I'm deep enough in that I put so much time into it. Like I want to finish it. I want to like get through it, right? I want to have like I've invested this time in this. I want to see it through, and like that's happened to me with plenty of video games, and so that's been like halting. But that's like at the same time like having that free time to play games, and also like juggling now a job where I'm going back and forth from an office, but also home sometimes. I'm like figuring out my schedules and life in general. It's been like harder to like jump into some other games and just start playing stuff when I want to just like try and finish this stupid big thing I started. So that's been happening to me recently and that's why there's a lot of games I've been playing that are on Switch and I want to definitely go back to and play some more of and get through. It's just that stupid game is taking up my time more so there are things, namely that being Klonoa Fantasy Reverie, Fantasy Reverie series. This is the remake collection of Klonoa 1 and 2. It is out on everything, including Nintendo Switch. I'm playing it on PS5, but here.
Here we go. Mike's stepping away here. Coming back. Got that physical edition on Switch. Loving it. Yeah. Loving it.
I imported because the physical copies of this game are not being sold in the U.S. for some reason. So this is from the U.S. As you can see, the hot Peggy 7 on the back.
Nice.
So I had to import the Klonoa physical copy of the Switch version of Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. So I did. I am playing it on PS5 though. At the moment, that's where I've already played it. You can actually go see there's a viewpoints of me and Quinn. I played a couple levels of Klonoa 1 and started Klonoa 2 in that viewpoint, so you can see a little bit of both games in that. And it's great. It's both of those games updated with some nicer visuals. There's not like a lot of like extra little things in there necessarily. It's just it's those two games, and you can replay them all in on a modern console. With some definitely some nicer looking visuals, but it's nothing crazy. Like I would say, like those. I feel like some of the remake stuff that's been kind of set the bars, like stuff like those like Crash remakes and Spyro remakes that kind of came out recently and kind of did like a big visual update and a lot of other updates. This is maybe not on that level, but I would say like it's still it's not a full priced game. It's only like I think it's only like $40. Like those games as well, and it's been nice to just play those games again, for sure. Even though I've not played as much as I would have liked, but it's nice. I definitely recommend Klonoa. It's a solid platformer experience.
I'm tempted. I played it when I was a kid, and I don't necessarily have a lot that I remember because I played with my brother. As one of those kind of early games where I didn't play a lot because I wasn't very good back then.
Yeah.
But man, Klonoa is the first video game that ever made me cry. The ending is so sad.
The ending's a lot. The second game immediately the second game was like the peak. My dad would have to like trudge, reluctantly bring me along to every Blockbuster outing we would go to, and I would have to, and by default would have to rent me a video game. And Klonoa was like that default, like, well, the usual Nintendo video games I want to get aren't here. Let me just get whatever this is. And then I got Klonoa 2 specifically, and that was like, holy crap! Like I remember that blowing my mind back in the PS2 day. And then I remember just in this viewpoints, like going and playing that first level from that game again, and just being like, man, we have it pretty good now with video games, huh? Even though it's still fun and like good, but like you can tell like. This was like of that era, but it's still like I think it always had really cool ideas even from that era of like it's 2D, but you're on more of like the camera's like shifting and you're going on different planes in this 2D 3D environment, and there's different routes that'll like take you to like different ways through this kind of stage, and I think it was always a really cool different way to like kind of think of like a 2D how you like traverse a 2D kind of side-scrolling level.
what's the world map situation? Do we have a world map in these games? Do we have like just a level list?
There's the world map in each game. I'd say the world map in Klonoa 2 is much more. Klonoa 2 is much more of a like probably what you expect from a world map. First Klonoa games is not as robust, but there is like more of like you're on a world map and you're like jumping to stages, and then you have little collectibles on the stage. I do like when you get collectibles in Klonoa 1. You're basically like saving characters in each like like environment, and then like when you save them and you go back, it's like world map is like on a book, and like these little like floating islands that you're like jumping around.
Yeah, that's right.
And it'll show like how many characters you saved as like little sprites next to the level of like, and they're like little animated sprite characters of the things you save, which I think is like cute looking. But it's fun. It's they did not completely modernize it. It is still pretty much those games. It's just like they just look nicer visually, for sure. So I definitely want to play through both of those, and maybe even get the platinum on PlayStation, because I just like those games. I'm just happy they put them out again on a modern platform.
It's a win for sure. It's like that
is a win for
that in Pack World.
Pack World Repack. I'll probably get that. I never actually played those. Are the ones I never played.
Probably get that. It was a weird PS1 game, and now it looks like a weird GameCube game, and I think that's just perfect.
Yes,
that's what we need.
Exactly the vibe.
Although I was talking to George about this. Did you know that I guess Namco lost the rights to Mrs. Pac-Man?
Yes.
So that's why in this repack, it's
look different.
Fake Miss Pac-Man.
Yep. I heard about it. They lost the rights to Miss Pac-Man.
It's like Lady Pac or whatever her name is.
Yeah, it's like Lady
Unbelievable.
Pac or Pac Lady or something. Yep. Yeah, it's super weird.
We're all children of the divorce of Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man.
It's wild.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, if that truly is the definition of like love can survive.
Yeah,
because they can't.
Jesus and Miro split up. Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man split up. There is no God.
There is nothing.
Just give up.
There's nothing. We survived. We survived all of that pandemic for this.
For this.
You hate to see it. Indeed. But yeah, Klonoa is really good. I've been having fun with it. I definitely recommend it. If you're looking
I'm tempted. I might get it. I was thinking about a platform to go back to, and honestly, I was thinking about maybe playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, finally finishing that game.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe Klonoa seems like a little bit less intimidating, to be honest.
It's definitely it's super
that game.
Super lax. All things considered, it feels definitely more in the vein of like playing a Kirby game, where I'm just like, I'm just jumping around and collecting things. It's whatever.
That's chill. I'm into that.
Yeah, and I'm into it for sure. The couple other things I have are kind of smaller things. Again, I've not some things I'm going to jump into and play. And one weird shout out that I feel like it's adjacent. Okay, I'll just get into it. Multiverses. I've been playing it.
Yeah.
It's weird to talk about because
LeBron James
is in it, but it's weird to talk about because it still feels Nintendo adjacent, even though it's not coming to Switch. It's going to be on Switch.
Yeah.
It's right now it is going to be PlayStation and Xbox and PC. That's weird. It's not coming to Switch. I feel like it will. It's just maybe for some reason they're just working it out on others working it out. I don't know. But I got in the closed alpha months ago when they did that. I didn't talk about it then because again it felt weird talking about it because it's not on Nintendo. But now it's right back around, and now it's it's even weirder because now it's open. Now it's considered open beta, but right now, as of this moment, by the time this episode comes out, everyone will probably be able to play it. But the open beta is early access as well to certain people. So basically, if you want to get in right now, you have to either get a code, or they're doing Twitch drops where you watch people on Twitch and then you can get a code that way. That you can get in right now that way. That's the only way you can get in right now. But then I think it's July 26th or 27th or whatever. Then it's open beta and you can just start playing it. And they're calling it beta, but you can start also buying stuff in the game because it's free to play. But you can start buying currencies, you can start buying battle passes, even like I'm playing on PlayStation as well because it's not on Switch, but it's you can start getting trophies and stuff in it too. So like I'm considering it a released video game as of now, by those standards, because you can literally buy currencies. You can buy like some Founders Pack, which gives you additional stuff. Like all of it's there, so it's out. Yeah, I mean, obviously it is a Smash Brothers style video game that's not fully Smash Brothers. I am enjoying it. It is just one of those things where it's just like, it's a game where like if it was on Switch, I think I'd be playing more of it, or like if I owned a Steam Deck, I'd be playing more of it just so I can like sit down on a handheld and play it. Because it is one of those things where like the way I would play it would not be the way that like I'm gonna go online and like rank up and become get into it hardcore and be like I'm logging in and doing some like it has daily like weekly general challenges because it's free to play and you have a battle pass and that stuff, because it's fun enough to where like I would want to like see stuff, and it's just like a weird crossover video game that like in the same way Smash is of like, but Smash obviously is like Nintendo characters, so like I have a lot of nostalgia for those things, obviously, because we're on a fucking Nintendo podcast, so we obviously have a lot of that. But this game is just weird in the other on the other side of that, of just like like we said, LeBron James is going to be in this video game. Like the week, like I think once it's out, like an open beta, I think LeBron James will be in the game. But so is like Iron Giant from the animated movie, Tasmanian Devil from Looney Tunes, Arya Stark. They announced alongside LeBron James that Rick and Morty are also going to be in the game. They're coming like I think in like August or something. Like it's just like it's just like a bizarre concoction of characters. But like in the same vein, like it still kind of all works from what I played, because like they've done the due diligence of like getting this, like making it be absurd. Like it feels like a game they get when like you have characters like kind of smack talking each other, and like it's like Batman smack talking like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, and or like even like LeBron, like I think in that trailer they showed for LeBron James, like they had smack talking, like it made sense and it was ridiculous, and like it was just a dumb fun thing. There's other dumb fun things I found really entertaining, was like there's it's free to play, so you can unlock like cosmetics and all this other stuff. And one I actually think is kind of cool is there's basically like animations you can unlock for like in Smash Brothers in like this game, where it's like it's a platform fighter, so you take enough damage, you get knocked off the stage and a big explosion happens. You can get like custom like explosions to make them different things. And one of the ones you can get is literally like you get knocked off the stage, and then it does the ending of a Looney Tunes cartoon, and Porky Pig just shows up and it says, "That's all, folks," and it's like pops up as you get blown off a stage. And I think that's very
incredible.
Fun. I think that's like a really good. That's a really dumb one. You can just unlock in that game, and like you can get like all kinds of outfits for characters from all the different like Looney Tunes variations of them over the years, and Tom and Jerry is in it as well as a character, and they're amazing because like it's literally all of their sound bites are literally just them from cartoons. So like you hear the weird iconic Tom yells as he gets blasted off stages, and all their weird little character screams that you do in the cartoon. They're also like a fun character just because like how they fight and animate is literally it's not like them fighting together, it's them fighting each other. So like there's literally a move where like Tom is trying to smash Jerry the rat with like a hammer, and there he's like jumping out of the way, but you're rushing ahead with a hammer, and that's kind of like their attack. So it's like them kind of like fighting. Cool. They're like kind of fighting each other it's
like the opposite of Ice Climbers,
and in the chaos of them trying to fight each other, you're like doing your attacks, and it's silly like that. Like there's the characters themselves like feel like they have enough of the kind of like they get like incorporating these characters and making them feel like they are the characters rather than they are like checking a box in a fighting game, kind of like how Smash does it, where like obviously Smash Sakurai is very diligent about making these characters feel like the characters themselves, not necessarily just like filling a role in a fighting game per se, even though like some can do both at the same time. Like this game I think is doing a pretty okay job, at least so far, of like blending that to a degree as well. That being said, though, I will say is like when I tried to play this game more like in the way I would play Smash, like in the kind of more like I like the more 1v1s scenarios in Smash. That's kind of like what I prefer, or like the 4v4 free for alls that we've also done playing online. Like I like that stuff too. Like this game does not feel like it's okay, but it's not like as good as Smash at the end of the day.
Sure. It's also like kind of built around like the 2v2, right?
Exactly.
Like
that's what I get into is like when you're doing that 2v2 stuff, I actually like it's different enough from what you're playing in Smash that like it is really interesting because like there are multiple characters where a lot of their combat and abilities are more centered around that being on a team with another player. Like for instance, like they straight up have an original character in the game that's like made for the game, and it's like this big like reindeer looking dog creature, and that thing is like a support character where like straight up it has an ability where like it has like a tether, like it has this little like crystal in its antlers, and you shoot this like little laser tether out, and if you're on a team with somebody, that tether will grab them. And you can just have that on them while you're running around doing stuff. But then if you hit the input again, it'll literally yank that person right to you. So that's like, that character gets launched off, you can tether them, and then bring them back and essentially save them from getting like knocked out of the stage. And there's like other stuff like too, like Wonder Woman, for instance, her down special is like a block. But if you do that block like right next to an ally, you both get like a big like shield like defense buff. So there's like stuff like that of like, characters will have their standard move sets and attacks, but also like, if you're playing in that team oriented way, some of their moves have like extra benefits for that team play. And I think that's cool. But I still think like, it's cool to have that mode, but like, again, Smash has like, I can play that 1v1 and have fun, or I can play that 4v4 and have fun, or I can, throw items and get completely crazy. Like this game feels like it does not have enough of that other end of it of like it has the 2v2 stuff and that's interesting, but then when I get into 1v1 like maybe I just need to get a little bit more used to like the differences in how it plays, because it doesn't have everything that Smash has. Like you don't have grabs, you don't have like shields or block, it's mostly just like dodges and air dodging and stuff to like get around. So like getting more used to how like some of the minor combat differences might take me a while to like get used to, and maybe once I get some of that stuff down, that 1v1 or more free for all stuff will open up more to me. But like there isn't as much chaotic like stuff, like there isn't like items and stuff that you can like mix into the battles and have a bunch of crazy stuff happen in that regard. So I think I would be totally okay if they maybe went in that direction and add a little bit more of that chaotic stuff in there, potentially, where now it feels a little bit more like they're trying to hedge the bet on maybe the people they think they're going to get in right away are going to be people that are way more into that competitive nature with like Smash and like those platforming fighter style games. So I think that's maybe what they're going for more, which is fine. Like that's probably at the end of the day like a smart thing to do, because those are going to be the people who are literally trying to play every day or stream it every day and eventually go to tournaments and stuff. I want to say this game is already going to be at EVO or something. So like that'll be interesting to see whatever they're going to do with that. But yeah, it's also got that, it's wacky. Like you said, like, it'll be weird playing that game, by the time this podcast probably comes out or next week, seeing a match where LeBron James is like throwing a basketball at Iron Giant. And
Gandalf screams in the background.
Gandalf screaming in the background, and then they're fighting each other on some Steven Universe stage. I don't even know. I barely even fucking know what Steven Universe is. So it's like it's just weird. Yeah. So like it has like some absurdity in that regard. And I think they're nailing some of that stuff. But I think having a little bit more gameplay options, I think will definitely maybe excite me a little bit more. But that's Multiverses. Yeah. A game you can't play on Nintendo Switch that I ended up talking way more than I thought I would.
We needed to talk about it. It was important.
It's fair. And it might come to Switch one day. I feel like that's got to be a given. It's weird that it's just not. A game I talked about a little bit last week was our last episode, not last week. Little Noah, I did play that to completion. That game, I think that it's a really good game.
Nice.
I like the idea of it. Like, it is a good, solid roguelite, but I also like that it is like kind of bite-sized. Like I beat it in like under 10 hours, which I think is like kind of the shortest I've ever beaten a roguelike game really in general. So like that was kind of just like nice to be like get the roguelike the run itch fill, but then still have like a complete run. And like if I really wanted to, I could like, you know, keep upgrading some of the characters or unlock some other super moves for my character. But it was nice to just have that like kind of like bite-sized like roguelike kind of dungeon crawler experience. And I think that game is perfect for that. So I had a lot of fun with that. And then the only other games I have were again I purchased them, but I've not gotten to be fair, they also came out the same day that we're recording this, and that was Live Alive and Koromon. I just bought both of those. Oh,
yeah, Koromon.
Yeah, Koromon has been out on PC for a while, to be fair, but it actually just came out on Switch. So it is on Switch. If you're not familiar with Koromon, it is basically it's a Pokemon, like, kind of not spin-off, I should say, but kind of like a like inspired by Pokemon, like, and that and it's also very heavily inspired by an era of Pokemon I'm definitely nostalgic for, which was that DS era, so like Gen 4, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamond and Platinum Pearl, like the characters look straight out of those era video games where they're like chibi and wide and they have like big heads and they look like silly, the characters, but then when you kind of go into the combat, it's a really nice like detailed sprites and animation arts, animation stuff, and it just looked cool, like it looked like a really well thought out one of those kind of Pokemon kind of takes where there's a lot of different features, like different options, and there's also straight built-in like Nuzlocke modes and randomization modes that a lot of Pokemon mods have like sprung up over the years. Like all that stuff is like kind of already built in the game. So I'm kind of just curious to see this game, and I feel like there's not a lot of games, Pokemon knockoff games, that kind of get like the full console releases like this one is. So I'm kind of definitely interested to check it out all the way. And then of course Live Alive, I was feeling the JRPG itch a little bit, and I liked Octopath, which this game is kind of like a predecessor to in some regards, and I saw it got a lot of great reviews, so I was like, hey, let's check it out. I'm down. So I'll definitely probably talk about that more next episode.
Yeah, I think I might check it out too. I like
cool.
Enough people have said good things about it that have gotten me pretty interested.
Yeah.
Big fan of Undertale, so it seems like that's another kind of progenitor to that as well.
Cool, interesting. Excellent. But I mean, that's pretty much all I got. That's all I got for Nintendo stuff. So I think that might do it for this episode, this trip to Nintendoland, Alex.
Yeah. God knows what Nintendo's going to tweet between now and next episode.
That's right. Again, July was an interesting month for Nintendo. This episode will come out still towards the end, so there might be some things we missed maybe in July, but really I think it might just come down to Xenoblade 3. We'll get a lot of stuff, and again, we're not big Xenoblade guys, so we probably would have not added much to that conversation, I feel. Hopefully we'll get lucky and the Mario Kart gods will pray down upon us, and we'll see some more tracks.
September at the latest, they'll either like shadow drop it in their direct, or it'll hopefully, it'll just come out sometime in August. Is my hope.
That feels definitely the vibe at this point. Like I feel like it's got to be August because that gives them like still enough time to get like a third pack out at the very end of this year, like late in November, December, and that puts them back on the track to like still have the tracks because they said, at least still till now they are still saying all the tracks will be out till the end of next year. So like if they want to stick on that train, they have to be in August, hopefully. But we'll see. Yeah. I think that'll probably try and be maybe something we talk about in the next episode a little bit more. If that happens, maybe we can do what we said, like we do some track rankings or rank some Mario Kart 8, all the 8 tracks that are in there for now, and those DLC tracks if they come. Because I don't think there will be too much else going on in August with releases. Maybe we'll probably get some news, but nothing crazy. And yeah, we'll talk about maybe Live Alive then as well. But yeah, we'll be back in August. Thanks again, everybody, for either watching us on YouTube, where we can watch the video version of this podcast, or you're probably listening on podcast services. Feel free to leave us a review or leave us a comment and let us know what you think of the show. We always appreciate anybody who's checked it out. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
That's
Go listen to
right.
IPD&D.
IPD&D, that's right. That's our other Dungeons and Dragons show. Check it all out. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.